Honestly, walking in swimsuit on a ramp is much easier than speaking for 20 minutes is what I believe. And I hope I'll do it fine right now. Um, so yeah, the topic, of course, it goes like unscripted, off the script, to be undeniably real. I'm trying to tell a few instances of my life that has led me to wherever I am today. So let's start off. I want to narrate about a movie. It's my favorite movie. It's called Me Before You. I don't know if you guys have watched it. I'm sure you've watched it, right? It's a love story, a tragic romantic love story. This Will, he's an adventurous man. So what happens? He meets with a tragic accident and he's left crippled after that. So later he meets this girl Louisa, who is appointed as his caretaker. So they both fall in love. And that's a beautiful bond that they share because there's no physical intimacy, but absolutely a beautiful love story. So later, what happens? Will has only 10 days to live, so he decides, let me just take the help of assisted death that he passes away. So the last scene goes where Louisa opens up a letter and she sits in a cafe in Paris, and this beautiful thing what I read, and it always stays in my mind: live boldly, do not settle for less, and go push yourself. That's what he says to her. So that is one thing I want to take away from that movie. Initially, when I used to watch that movie, I used to think the tragic death of the lover is the most heartbreaking thing. But today, when I watch it like couple of times, I feel that the tragic loss would have been Louisa not living her dream to the fullest, having smallest of smallest dreams. That would have been a tragic loss. And I believe love can even change you, even if it doesn't last forever. So this is one of my favorite movies. I'm just trying to share you all something that I really like, so that you'll understand my personality or whatever. So coming back to the whole thing, why I try telling about this. If I can tell you that you have only 60 days to live, so whatever you did 60 seconds will suddenly you feel it's so meaningless, right? So whatever is so important to you, you start doing those things to make it look like more important. Everything that you do becomes very important in life. So for me, as a lawyer, I felt that was the life that I lived, the life that I really loved. But at the same time, to become part of Miss Universe India, to even participate in a pageant, that was something, the life that I unlived. Like as a tall girl coming from a small town in Karnataka, I think my parents never imagined, like how I said, walking on a swimsuit on the ramp. So this is something that nobody ever imagined. So a life of an artist is something that I unlived in my head like so many times. So coming back to the life I lived, at 21, I can still remember, I had distinction scores. I was very good student in my final semester especially. But a topper would just write down 4 important points and get the best marks. Someone like me, even if I have 24 days, not 24 days, 24 hours before the exam, I would just go to that case study, do the case study, write some different human story behind the judgment, make it look like my answer is, even better than a topper's answer. Like I would always want to look different from other people, even though I was running out of time. So at the age of 21, I still remember this first internship that I did. That was with Central Bureau of Investigation. That was my first internship in CBI. So that is something that I got exposed to at a very early stage in my life. It's a tragic death of an IAS officer. So what happened, when you're 21, you're just going through all these files. You just have to make observation of everything, the human judgment behind it. I would just open the files and try to understand. But later, I found out that people in the system, they were already trying to give a different narrative about the mental state of the person who's already deceased. That's when I felt, the systems are already trying to recreate a different story of a person. That is something I was exposed to at a very early age, a 21-year-old. Imagine I have to read something like this, like the call recordings, all the interviews of, with the family members, understanding the psychological toll of an IAS officer. All these things I was so exposed to. But today I feel, systems only evolve if you start humanizing the people who really serve. These people have really served us. And as a law student or as a lawyer at that point, I used to feel I'm watching this, I'm going through all the interview files, but not being able to do anything was such a sad moment for me. And that itself gave a different sort of education growing up. So coming back to the life that I unlived, I kind of lived a life that is of an artist, but not to the fullest potential. You know why? I'll tell you something. Like, I grew up with a condition called deviated nasal septum. Do you all know what deviated nasal septum is? Like, the wall of your nose is so narrow, it makes both the walls look entirely different. Like, one side is more narrower than the other side. So you tend to look very different because all your facial features are constricted with the way your nose looks, So I used to feel very insecure as a child. That takes so much toll on your mental health, especially growing up in those teenage years. You just feel like you're not looking your best. So I used to feel that most of the time. So they say that athletes, when the trauma is found in a talent, it automatically blooms. But I refuse to believe that. What I really want to believe is when this trauma, whatever it is, it becomes a resilience, and you have that adversity that you really want to do something of real, so much potential. You really want to do something potential. You'll just go for it and you do it. So what I did, I just tried to redefine the choices. I wanted to look different. I went for it. I was so confident after that. I redefined my nose. I redefined myself. I wanted to give a different narrative about myself. And nobody ever thought that I would do something like that, right? And then later, what happened was people started criticizing. Like, I feel when you don't live up to your ambitions, when you don't live up to your life, you start automatically criticizing other people because they are living their dreams. You didn't have the courage to go and live your dream, but you're criticizing someone for living up to their dream. And that is so unfair. That happened to me initially. I started looking different. I started looking more feminine. That's what people started telling me. Oh my God, you look so feminine now. I used to look so different. Like, I can see my picture. I used to look a little different. But what I really care to believe is I had the most resilient heart. I really wanted to go for whatever I wanted to do in my life. So the external appearance or whatever happened, it really never bothered. Even today, I believe, is a woman is whatever she looks like. No, I don't care to believe that. What I really believe is a woman is what she's actually made of. Whatever she's actually made of is exactly her, and that is what I care to believe. So yeah, that is the unlived life. Whatever I tried to pursue, I went for Miss Universe India and I took part. I won the title Beauty with a Purpose. All of that happened. But at the same time, growing up in these years, after being a lawyer, after being an artist, the marriage prospects that I got, it absolutely came down. Over the years, the number of prospects used to be so high when I was 23, because my father always expected the same thing out of me, just like he expected of my brother. Brother's a doctor. So I used to always think that, okay, this is it. I have to just be a lawyer and just get married. It's high time. So a lot of prospects keep coming. These my relatives, everyone used to tell my father, the most eligible girl gets married very young in order to get financially stable guy and what is the word? Astrologically compatible. So that is what they always told me growing up. So I wanted to do something different. I told my dad, of course, no, I'm not getting married anytime. Please keep that out of your head. Fortune always favors the bold. I really want to believe this. Priyanka Chopra has told this somewhere. Like, the more bold you are, the more bold you go after your dreams, that's when the fortune favors. But yeah, the hard no came with a lot of things. I used to go back to a rented room. Imagine you have 3 other roommates, you have to share the rent. And my stipend, my salary during the CVA internship, everything used to be like 15 grand. Even after I started practicing, it used to be like 15, 20 grand. And still, I was someone like, okay, 10,000 goes for the rent and rest, 5, whatever. I used to save up for my weekend, going out, all of that. But then I realized something. When you start earning at a very young age, when you have these multiple sources of income, being an artist, doing those shows, and then going back home, whatever it is, you are no longer obligated for anybody to say, like, choose a decision for you in your life. The more you become independent, the more you feel financially stable, the more you feel financially secure, nobody gets to make a decision for you. Is exactly what I realized. Because my father told me once, if you're making a hardest choice by saying no, then go build a life where you're financially independent, where you're financially stable. And that is what nobody taught me in the school. Nobody ever comes and tells you in the school that, as a woman, you should have multiple sources of income, multiple streams of income. You're always told that be a good girl, have a realistic dream, have a modestic life. But this is something that happened with me. I am materialistic actually, I love carrying those designer bags and everything. But that feeling of, having your income, having your money and then buying it, right? Not your dad's money and you get it out of your money, that's the best feeling. I'll tell you, that's the best feeling. You buying everything out of your money is the best feeling. That's what I tell my dad. I'm no longer obligated to, say yes or no for any proposal. Because I can choose whatever I want in my timing. So, as self-employed people, I would like to give this one suggestion. At very young age, whatever the age you guys are, 18, 19, start investing, start applying, having different sorts of income. Like portfolios or whatever it is. Because we should have that abundance, we should have that wealth growing up. Because nobody is going to come and teach us. I have learned this the most hardest way, because I do not want to stay another day sharing the rent with someone. I want to live peacefully, and that is something that I always look up to. Okay, something else I wanted to add. I'm just thinking. So after all of this that happened, okay, up until few days, my Miss Universe India happened, and then before that, I took a picture with the Chief Minister of the state. He posted my picture on his Twitter, on his Instagram, on his other Facebook, whatever handle. So all my relatives, I don't even know their names and who they are. And they kept putting that on their status. That's a most South Indian thing. I don't know if it happens everywhere. And everyone kept doing that. So, when you win a crown, you become a cultural ambassador. So you get that opportunity to meet the Chief Minister of the state. You might or might not, but I was very fortunate enough to get that opportunity, and I did that. So I entered a room, of course wearing a silk sari and a crown. The kind of people, they were looking at me, they were like, I'm sure she's here for a picture. And I'm very sure she doesn't even know Kannada. Because how it's important to know Malayalam here, people also wanted to see me speak in Kannada. And I was patiently waiting for my turn. And I then went inside to meet the Chief Minister. So I asked him in Kannada, Janapriyate mattu janaseve ಹೊಣೆಗಾರಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ನೀವು ಹೇಗೆ ನಿಭಾಯಿಸುತ್ತೀರಾ? How do you manage to carry the weight of fame while having the responsibility to serve your people? I asked it only in Kannada and only Kannada. So that was the major flex for me. And it was pin drop silence. Hundreds of ministers, everybody in the room, they were like, oh my God, she can speak Kannada and this is the girl. They were so happy or shocked or whatever it was. So I left the room, I got my picture, and then I get a call from the PA asking for the name of the pageant, the place where I came from, my full name, of course. And later my father calls me after half an hour saying, your picture's all over the news channels and you're everywhere on his Twitter and everything. So that is when I realized it's not about proving these people wrong in the room. What is so important? whichever room you enter, wherever, whatever you do, make sure that you create that impact. You carry your aura. Your aura should speak for yourself, even before what your beauty can speak. So I spoke about nose, right? It doesn't mean if a perfect nose, someone with a beautiful face can be perfect, and if perfection can be beauty and beauty can be perfection, what about the intellectual part? What about what you're made of? Your impact is everything. Whatever you carry to that room, your inner self, your hard work, your upbringing, whatever you study on these years, right? That is exactly what matters, not the sari that you wore with the crown, is what I truly tend to believe. And yeah, like this is something that I want to tell everyone. Sometimes you get questioned for, your credibility of your win. You have a job, people question you like, are you like really worthy of it? Like people tend to like make it look like you're not worthy of it, and that happened with me actually. Like when I won this crown, people would be like, she doesn't even deserve it, and that is exactly what. That is when I wanted to show everyone that my public appearance, my public relevance, my civic behavior, and the way I conduct, my purposeful action that I want to take up for people, everything is going to answer. My retaliation, my argument is not going to answer anyone. My actions with that impact. Like I think you watched the movie KGF, where he says a dialogue, powerful people come from powerful places. And I believe in making yourself powerful. Go create that impact. People, whoever is watching you, should not forget your impact. They might forget your name, but the impact that you create wherever you go always stays, always follows. I'm sure the chief minister wouldn't remember my name, but he would always remember for the girl who asked that question. And that is something I want to take away in my heart. So leaving you all with that thought, always do not fight for validation or whatever the credibility. Leave that impact wherever you go. Thank you.